Man, it's crazy to see myself in a game, you know, coming up as a kid playing the fighting games and boxing games and football, just any sports game, just to see yourself, you know, to be able to play yourself. It's crazy to me. Still to this day, you know, sometimes I can't even believe that I'm actually in a game. But, you know, dreams do come true. Reality sets in, and, you know, we're here.
Respect isn't given, it's earned. In blood.
Boxing King Media. We're here with Johnny Nelson at the Steel City Interactive Studios in Sheffield, the makers of the Undisputed Game. People tuning in, you will have just watched that amazing new advert with Terence Crawford that plays before our content. Terence Crawford is the front cover for the new Championship edition. And Johnny Nelson's in the game as well, and here he is in real life.
Now I'm doing the commentary, the old Johnny, and a second version of Johnny's on it as well. I'm not sure who comments on me when I'm fighting, but I think it's probably me. But I just don't know how that'd turn out. Can you imagine me talking about myself? So I've not actually seen that. I've not seen that. My nephews have actually got me on the game, and I think they get me beat up on purpose. But I beat Usyk on it a couple of times. Yeah, that's how we roll, baby.
Mate, there's a legion of people online that as soon as Johnny Nelson mentions Usyk, they go crazy because they're holding you to the fact that you said you could beat this guy. Even you're still standing by it now.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm not saying. I'm saying Usyk is a cruiserweight. Johnny Nelson is a cruiserweight. Of course, I'm going to back myself, and unfortunately, people don't understand that if you've got the mentality of a civilian, you're going to think like a civilian, saying, no, I really believe that me at my best would have beaten him at his best as a cruiserweight. I'm 58 years old now. I'm not saying I beat Alexander Usyk now. That's stupidness. So these are fantasy fights you can put together. And I just think what I see in Usyk is brilliant. And I think he's smart enough and sharp enough and has boxing IQ more than everybody and anybody else. But you remember, he was inspired by fighters from our gym. He's saying him and Lomachenko said he used to watch Nash train all the time, and their coach said, no, you're doing it wrong. So I understand your Usyk, I understand the mindset, I understand the unorthodox fighters, but most fighters that all fighters that get in with him don't know how to deal with him. They just, and there's not many coaches or fighters out there that are able to utilise and box that well. There's no Brendans around anymore, so unless it's inbred in you, you've no chance of being that fighter again.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not saying you're going to beat him, but I know you spent a lot of your career fighting Eastern Europeans in and around Germany, so maybe that would have given you the advantage going in, maybe, just maybe.
That made a massive difference to my career because it was about self-belief and confidence. And Brendan, for about 6 years, I was in Europe, Eastern Europe, as a sparring partner with the best. And I mean, your world champions, Axel Schultz, Henry Mass. You know, if you know your boxer, you know these people. In Toulouse with a French world light heavyweight champion, Fabrice Théoso, you know, super middleweight world champions, all of them. I was there sparring with these guys, and one thing I learned was the discipline and structure. And so combining that with Brendan's style, when I come back, I was unbeatable. And that, as I told you about my eureka moment, sparring with the world light heavyweight champion Fabrice Théoso, beating him up. And the Darky Smith, who was the coach at the time, said, back off, you know, take it easy with him, he's fighting next week. And I'm thinking, how's this guy world champion? You know, I'm not. So I think that was my eureka moment, but that's a story for another day.
I'm sure we'll definitely tap into these stories. I'll tell you what, one of the stories, let's clarify this, because we ran a competition last time I spoke to you, and the competition was, I think I didn't know this, but you said a lot of your former opponents have passed away. Yeah. And you obviously got people to guess how many it was. I think, was it 14? Yeah. How on earth do you even know that? Do people ring you when one of them passes away? How did you find out?
They don't ring me. It just pops up on social media. For some reason, I get tagged into it. I said 14. I actually think it's 16. But the easiest way to find out is you do research, you look at who I fought, look at his date of birth, and then you'll see it then. But they've died in peculiar circumstances. Norbert Cassie punched through a glass door, slit his wrist. One guy died in a motorbike accident, one had a boat, one got shot. There's so many different stories, but I'm not the jinx. It was just an odd fact to have as your resume as a fighter.
It's mad that the curse of Johnny Nelson. But yeah, I don't think anyone got that right. I think somebody guessed 13 and somebody guessed 12. So we gifted them a couple of Usyk t-shirts. They should get them hopefully tomorrow. And before we talk about boxing, I'm just going to show this fancy little magazine. So this is a special edition Oh, you can open it. So
I pestered you to say, bring me some merch back, because you were out there ringside, and I thought it was a great show to be at. So what did I do? These don't exist, bad boy. There you go. Got some merch, baby. Got some merch.
special edition for fighting.
These were given to people at ringside, and usually when I go away to events, that's what I do. I'll pick up that kind of merch because it's stuff that you can't get anywhere. Special edition, and these are like, if you're into your boxing, you know, years to come, you look at these and think, wow, you know, I've got quite a few ring magazines and the new edition, and I collect them because I know in years to come they'll be there, sat there on the side.
That's an iconic piece there.
The merch, baby. The merch, baby. I was on it. I got you proper robbing the place left, right, and centre.
Well, the reason I've got you kitted out because, like I said, we're doing a lot of giveaways for the fans because I think it's time we're in a position now to give back to the fans that have supported Boxing King Media.
Every time you turn up at my house to do an interview, you've got some kind of gift. Is it Boxraw t-shirts or something like that? And I like it when you. I know it's not just me, but I think if you clearly appreciate the access you get from people, and I think that's nice because it don't happen. It's like, oh, nice touch. So I think it's a nice touch. It's a smart move by you as well.
I'll be honest, it's a case of obviously the Boxraw, we get access to a certain amount of kit, and obviously there's only so much kit I can carry with me, so I like to give it to the fighters, especially the fighters that are struggling for kit. So there's a lot of fighters I've supported over the years and given them kit. Obviously I don't advertise it anywhere, but there's a lot of fighters out there that I've helped out and given them everything from hand wraps to clothing, etc. And then I thought, you know what, it's about time we start giving back to the fans who have supported Boxing King Media's journey this far. So I got some goodies back from the Crawford-Canelo fight. So the t-shirt Johnny's wearing, I think the one that he was carrying there. So I've got a couple of them to give away. And I've got one Ring magazine book as well. So I've got two of them. So one's Johnny's and I've got an extra one that's brand new packed up that I want to give away to someone. So I was thinking how to give this one away this way. This time we're going to do it on Facebook. So Facebook, I've got a feature where they can tell me which fans are interacting the most. And I was looking the other day, there's a guy called Kirk Hughes who's consistently the top ranked fan on there. So it's
Hughes, well done, mate.
Yeah, well done. So I sent him some goodies yesterday, but basically it's open, so I'm going to check again middle to end of October, see who's top. Basically the way you get to the top, Facebook have got a point scoring system. You can research it, you comment, like, share, interact with all the posts that we put on our Facebook page, Boxing King Media, and whoever's top, even if you can't beat Kirk, if you come second, third, we'll sort you out, and then I'll be in touch with you and send you some goodies out.
Nice. That's a nice touch, that is. And I suppose it gets the bands getting a little something back, which is nice, really nice.
100%. So we'll talk about the boxing, all that stuff's out the way, Johnny. So it's only right that we start with Ricky Hatton, a fighter that you fought around the same time as Ricky. You've been around, the same circles as him, and obviously at Sky Sports, etc. So I think the first question I've asked a lot of people since, whenever I've spoke about Ricky is, where was you when you heard the news, and how did you hear the news, and just like your initial feelings and reaction?
Heard the news first thing Sunday morning, probably about 10 o'clock. I'm not sure of the detail. I think it was discovered about 6 a.m. that morning. I probably felt a bit uneasy, uncomfortable, and I understand it's news, but I just thought, by 11 o'clock it was all over the place, everybody was talking about it, and I actually felt for his family as well, because I'm quite sure his family, not everybody in his family knew. So what a way to find out a family relative has died when you see it on the news. So I thought you've got to people had to just sit back and just let things, just be respectful enough to the people that are left. And so to me, I just felt morally, I just a bit uncomfortable, being asked about it. So I just didn't really talk about it. So you're probably the first person I've spoken about it to. For Ricky, I think, can you imagine how lonely he was in his head? Because I know his mental state was not, he spoke about it often, his mental health, and I gather he was in good spirits. I gather, what people saw before this was discovered, it was positive. But I just look at Ricky and I think, you know what? If you could look down now and see everybody, see the love, the outpour of love from around the world for him, maybe then he'd believe that he wasn't a failure, that he didn't let people down, that he wasn't a laughingstock. But in his head, he thought he was. In his head, he's, off camera, he'd say, do you think they're pissed off at me? Do you think? And so he couldn't see the love. And maybe that was because the facade and the smile and the jovial Ricky that you saw out and about, that was a mask. So when he was home, he was like, oh God. So that facade that he thinks everybody's fallen in love with, he's thinking, you don't really know me. This is me when I'm at home when the doors are shut. So you can kind of understand him thinking that way. And you've got to be in a dark, low place to think that about yourself. And I get it. I do understand it.
It kind of resonates with a quote that he said, which I shared with a few people in the last week, where he said his medication in life was making other people happy, which made him feel good about himself, which is a very selfish like way of living for himself, to make other people happy rather than himself.
But he couldn't see the happiness he was bringing to people. He couldn't see that people genuinely liked him. I remember being out with Ricky in Manchester in a club. Ricky was absolutely pissed up, and people he was like the boy next door. Everybody looked out for him. He was that guy. He was just so jovial. He was a boy next door. There was no airs and graces about it. And I think from a bin man to a superstar, they liked Ricky because he was what they saw. They thought, I know somebody like him. He's like my mate. He's like that kid that I know. He's like somebody I go out with. And Ricky just didn't see that effect he had on people. His standards were high. So he thought he had to be as successful and as up there as possible, for people to show him the same love and respect. If people love you, they love you. Not because you're winning. They just love you either way. And I don't think he could see that. I can remember when Naz boxed Kevin Kelly in New York, and Ricky had his second professional fight, blitzed his opponent out there in New York. And I think we were going in, and Ricky had already boxed, and Ricky was out, and it was a cold night, and him and Billy Graham were a bit tipsy outside. I'm like, my man, you just boxed. And I always said about Ricky, because it wasn't a secret, he loved to drink. I said, how's he do that? How's he manage to do it so wrong but get it all right? Then I remember him boxing Costa Zoo in Manchester, and I went with Brendan, and it was funny. As he walked in, it was packed out, absolutely packed out to the rafters. And Brendan nudged me, he said, Frank's got problems here. He said, why? He said, because Ricky's going to see this. He's going to see this, and then Frank's going to have problems. Because I think at one point before that, I was under the impression I was getting paid more than Ricky. I couldn't fill a phone box, and so when we saw how packed out it was. Brendan said there's going to be a problem here, and consequently after that fight, I think he and Frank parted ways. I think that's how it was. But Ricky, he's a good guy. He was a funny guy. He was just a guy. He's very approachable. He talked to you for hours on end, and then after the conversation is done, you say, Ricky, who's that? You'd say, I don't know. you know, but it makes someone feel really comfortable around them. But it is a sad case. It is a sad situation, a sad thing to get 46 years old. You know, but you've got to remember, you've got to think about his mother, his father, his brother. You've got to think about his kids, his grandkids. You know, people that are left. Ricky's demons, you know, he's not with us anymore. You know, but the people that are left, they're the ones that are heartbroken. They're the ones that I've got to deal with us talking about it over and over again. And so I've experienced somebody close dying. So you never get over the pain. You get used to it, but you never get over the pain and the heartache. And I think that unfortunately, there's no words that anybody can say to you to better you, to make you feel better about yourself. So I think for his family, you God be with him. God bless him, because you got to be strong. It's tough, because it's not like you can forget about it today, because every day somebody's going to talk about Ricky, remind him of Ricky. And so sometimes it gets you, sometimes it doesn't. And so it's I do feel for what they're going through.
Just to resonate with what you're saying there, and I told Dom this the other day, in his last ever interview online is one that he did with the IFL, and the craziest thing is I was stood behind and I was going to get him next, and he was outside the Hilton Hotel at Wembley the day after Usyk Dubois, and I was waiting. As soon as they were done, I was going to like get my phone out, start speaking to him, but his taxi turned up, and he was such a decent man. He was apologising, saying I'm sorry. He goes, I would do it otherwise, but my taxi, I've got to go.
Well, actually, his last ever interview was with Darren Barker.
Oh, was it?
Darren Barker did an interview with him the week of his passing, and it's not out. And
I didn't know that.
And Darren is uncomfortable about making it public because you know they're probably in the editing stage before letting it go. It might come out eventually.
That clip that's came out, is that from that interview? So they put a clip out.
Yeah. So and so that's what I'm saying. Every fighter's got a story. If you're from a certain era, every fighter's got a story about Ricky and their interaction with Ricky. But it's just what can you say? You can't say anything. What can you do? There's nothing you can say that's going to make this situation lighter for anybody's heart and soul, especially if you're related to Ricky.
I think all you can say is like you did there, and is like I've said there, share positive experiences, and I doubt anyone will find any negative experiences about him, because he was just a nice, simple man, basically. So you know,
you just made me smile. I was doing a Q&A with Ricky at an event, and people kept coming up. Ricky, can I buy you a drink? Can I buy you a drink? And he said, yeah, give me a pint of Guinness. And I was interviewing him, and this is we're eating and everything before we're doing the interview, and I counted Ricky had 13 pints of Guinness. I'm like, how the hell are we going to do this interview? Ricky said, I'm just going to the toilet, came back, did the interview. You would have no idea. My man wasn't even tipsy. And I'm like, how have you done that? One pint of Guinness and I'm gone. But he was just one of those lads. He was a boy.
Man of the people, I think so. You know, they may rest.
Better one actually. It was the WBO convention in Las Vegas. There was me, Ricky, Danny Williams, I think it was Farrell, I can't remember, another one, and we got to the hotel to check in. We all checked in, and when we checked in, Danny Williams had a carrier bag with him, and Ricky kept laughing at his carrier bag. And we got in the lift, and I said, Danny, what's in the bag? And he said, it's my British title belt. Oh, why have you got that? He said, Ricky told me he wanted to see it. And everybody pissed out laughing. So he'd been walking about with his carrier bag, this Lonsdale belt in his bag, in a carrier bag. And we were pissing ourselves laughing, and Ricky just proper pulled a blind on him. And then I can remember Ricky and, oh God, I can't remember who he was with. He's from Liverpool. He sells the CBD oil, the Fight X Fighter. Fowler. And they'd gone out one night and they were on the lash, and I got up to go for a run. So as I'm in I got out the lift in running gear, they're just coming in, staggering in the morning. I'm like, oh boys, how do you do it? But when they had fun. And it was just this times he was a proper joker, Ricky. He was wasted. He could have been a comedian.
Yeah, well, I think you just summed it up there. Very funny man. And like you said there, I think I will just leave it like this. Man of the people.
Respect isn't given, it's earned. In blood.